Welcome everyone to the House of Dre segments. House of Dre segments are small little segments, probably 10 to 15 minutes, talking about a random subject throughout the week until a podcast drop. Of course, I have not dropped the podcast here on the audio platform because sometimes I'm starting to do more on YouTube. So if you want to know what the YouTube is looking like and what kind of podcasts I'm doing on the YouTube, it is the House of Dre's podcasts. Just look that up on YouTube and you'll find the image in the channel itself. And the channel has a bunch of other videos outside of just the podcast. So if you're looking for the podcast or if you haven't seen a podcast, just check there and it's probably one uploaded. Probably not. You never know. All righty. So today's segment, what are we talking about here? I'm talking about a subject I haven't talked about in a very long time. It is Underworld number 6? ? Recently here on social media, I've been passing through posts like normal, like I normally do. And I seen a post that's saying that the director of the Underworld series, Underworld number 1, Underworld 2, which is Underworld, what number is that one? I forgot the name of it. Is it Awakening? No, that's 4. What is 2? 2 might be Awakening. 3 was Rise of the Lycans. 4 might be the Awakening. I don't know what number 2 was. No, Underworld Evolution, Rise of the Lycans, Awakening, Blood Wars. Those are the 5 Underworld movies in order. Well, not in order, but in order of release dates. I've watched all 5 of those. Now, recently, the director's saying that the franchise might return for Underworld number 6. Okay, it's a choice. And that's what they're planning on doing, supposedly. This is all rumors, of course. You take rumors with a grain of salt because it might not be true. It might just be to get clickbait. I've done it before. Well, I have not done that before. But for clickbait, just to get the views up. So it got me thinking, is it necessary to have an Underworld number 6? What would the storyline be? What's her name? Kate Becklins? I don't know how to say her last name. Is she's going to return to the film, etc., etc., etc. So let me educate you guys on the Underworld series and the franchise. The Underworld movie franchise, is about vampires versus werewolves. And the main character, Celine, she's been involved with the vampire war for centuries. Centuries, not like a couple years, centuries. It started off where in the past, the very first vampire, I have to remember now, it's been a long time, like I said. The very first vampire name, I want to say, is Marcus. Yes, the very first vampire name is Marcus. Marcus had a whole transformation as a vampire. Marcus and his twin brother named William, just like origin stories, one bitten by a bat, other were by a wolf. William was a full werewolf, meaning he could not change back to human form. He was a pure blood. He was pretty much a pure blood. That's what I'm gonna go with. We're gonna say pure blood for the unchangeable werewolves. Those two, along with their father, I forgot the name of their father. He popped up in the 4th movie. He was in the 4th movie, but his father and his 2 children. His father was like a warlord or something like that, where he lived centuries. Also, he's been around for since from the beginning of times too, and he was also cleaning up the wars between the vampires and the werewolves. Well, for Marcus created created the vampire clan, where one of the first elders' name is Victor. Victor was known as the eldest and was known as the strongest vampire besides Marcus, because he lived the longest. He was the absolute strongest. He took the head of the vampires whenever Marcus was asleep. When Marcus was asleep, Victor took over and he created a whole entire empire while Marcus was asleep. So it was Marcus, Victor, and her name was, it was another one. It's a female name, but I cannot remember her name. I forgot her name. Dang, that sucks. I forgot her name, but it was the 3rd one. Those are the 3 elder vampires. And the rules were I want to say between 100 to 1,500 years. Let's go around that round. one of the elders will be awake, and then they will switch off by awakening the other elder with their blood, and then that person goes to sleep, and they continue to do that for centuries. So while that's going on, William was very uncontrollable because he was a pure werewolf. He was pure blood werewolf. When he created a werewolf army, his army couldn't, once he bit you or attacked you or something like that, you would transform to a werewolf. You would never return back into a regular wolf, a regular person ever again. Once you're changed, you're changed. You cannot go back. Eventually, this led to a werewolf having a human child known as Lucian. When Lucian was born, he was born a baby, a regular human baby, but he has the power to transform into a werewolf, and this is what they call lichens. Victor should have killed everything in his ounce of his blood told Victor to kill Lucian when he was a baby, but he decided not to and took him into the vampire family and basically raised him like his dog, basically. Kind of raised him as a slave to him, and the entire lichens now all getting bitten by Lucian, not William no more. William is locked up and he was sent away. William got locked up and sent away. With William no longer in charge, Lucian became the elder of the werewolves, of the lichens. He's a lichen now. Lichens are the ones that they can be bitten, but they can change back to humans. They can go to werewolves to humans, back and forth. They can transform back and forth. Remember, William's kind do not go back and forth. They're just pure blood. They're purebloods. They cannot go back. So Lucian is now the new face of the werewolf army. Eventually, Lucian and Victor had a falling out because of Lucian having sex with Victor's daughter. And that led to a whole breakdown in the rebellion for the lichens to rise up against the vampires that were treating the lichens as slaves. So they were all slaves under the vampires' watch. While the vampires sleep during the day, they had the lichens awake doing their things. Vice versa. And then when the vampires are awake, they're ahead. You know what's going on. Is what they did. So the war between the vampires and lichens started right then and there after Lucian turned his back. Not only that, but Lucian was able to talk to William about having William's army come out and stuff. And then at some point, William got locked up in a prison away from Marcus and stuff. But I don't know, because the rise of the lichens kind of screwed that up a little bit, in my personal opinion. They have it to where Lucian and William had talked before, and then it was kind of weird from that. And then at some point, William got locked up. William gets locked up. So maybe it was the second movie that screwed that up. It was the second one. Evolution kind of screwed that up. I don't know. It was something weird like that. Whatever. So, with all that being said, you fast forward to Celine. Celine, she ended up becoming a vampire because she looked just like Victor's daughter, and he didn't want to kill her after he slaughtered her whole family. So instead, he changed her into a vampire, and now, as a vampire, she runs the streets with the rest of the vampires, raging war against the lichens that she thought killed her family. I guess I'm going to skip around, get past this a lot more. Basically, Celine found out that Victor lied to her. Celine also fell in love with a human. A human was also bitten by Lucian, who's a lichen, and then Celine bit the human, and now he's a hybrid, the first ever hybrid ever born, technically, because Lucian and Victor's daughter, she got pregnant, so their kid would have been a hybrid, but Victor ended up killing his own daughter to ensure that didn't happen. Celine, like I said, Celine did that, made a hybrid. The hybrid and Victor fought. The hybrid named Michael, that's his name, Michael. Michael killed Victor. Victor's blood spilled over not Victor's blood, but a lichen's blood spilled into Marcus's covens, and Marcus was born. Marcus was born, and all thing he was doing is looking to feed his brother William. Well, Celine also carried around this little necklace that had a key to William's prison. Not only that, but she, as a little girl, been to his prison before, so Marcus was hunting her down to look for William's prison. Marcus was a beast in evolution, by the way. He was a monster. He ended up killing the hybrid. He ended up killing Michael. He was able to find William's prison. He ended up killing his own father. Found William's prison, unlocked William's prison, and says that they're going to create a new world of basically purebloods. Basically, is what it's going to be. They was going to make a new world of purebloods of werewolves and vampires. Eventually, Michael being a hybrid, no one knows the extent of his powers. He was able to be revived after Selene dropped blood in him. Took a while, but he was able to come back. Michael was able to kill William, while Selene, after taking blood from William's father, Marcus and William's father, she became immune to light, the sunlight, and she was able to kill Marcus. Fast forward to Awakening. Awakening happened close into a future timeline to where Michael and Selene got captured by humans or so, because humans are now getting involved with the war, and they're starting to get involved with everything. And there's the Lycans started taking over, and Selene and Michael end up having a child born from them, born from their DNA and blood, end up having a child. So a super hybrid, a hybrid of a vampire and a Lycan, and then a hybrid vampire end up having this pretty much a god child, basically, a god tier child. She was born, and they were doing their things, taking out Lycans like normal. And then Michael goes into missing and Blood Wars. Selene avoided her child because a lot of vampires, elders, and stuff from different covens didn't like Selene for killing Victor. Found out that Michael was killed by a super werewolf, I want to call that a super Lycan or something like that. He wasn't a normal Lycan. He was juiced up. He was a super Lycan that ended up killing a hybrid Michael somehow. And then Selene ended up killing him. Selene ended up getting some new powers from being involved with a different vampire covenant and technically dying and being revived, technically. And then her, another vampire, and somebody else all became elders. And at the very end of the Blood Wars, Selene and her daughter reunited. And that's where they let the movie off. So now here in Underworld 6, they're planning on continuing that storyline. The thing is, it's been so long since that Blood Wars came out that I don't see a reason to continue the storyline of the Underworld series, in my personal opinion. There's no point. One, there's no point because last I heard, and I had looked this up yesterday to make sure. Last thing I heard, she's like, yeah, I don't see a reason why to continue the story. And then like in 2021, she said, yeah, I'll be cool to reprise the role, but I don't think they're going to call me back. And then probably a couple years back beforehand, when I looked this up, they had said that they was planning on reamping the Underworld series and doing some other things instead and getting away from Selene and stuff. So AKA, if they're trying to get away from Selene and everything that happened throughout the 5 movies, there's no point in having Underworld 6. That's just my personal opinion. I think they ended it off how they're supposed to end it off. There is nothing else to really discuss because Selene was already a monster, right? She was already awesome. And then, like, in the first movie, the second movie, and the fourth movie, she kept getting stronger and stronger. Not only that, she's helped kill elders. So she's been killing these elders. And if you're killing elder tier vampires and a werewolf, what else is there to do for you? And then in the Blood Wars, whenever she was revived, she was able to have like this teleportation type skill set or something crazy of that nature. And now like her speed is doubled or tripled or something since then. And now she's like a whole brand new person, a whole brand new vampire that can also walk in sunlight. So the sunlight doesn't affect her anymore. It's like, who else can stand against her? There is none, in my personal opinion. And not only that, but the handful of past movies have all been about They all been about the Lycans being the main villains, even though it's the vampires that's been the main villains majority of the time. So there's no reason to push for a sixth movie, in my personal opinion. Who else is going to stand against that now? At some point, like in the first and second movie, that's okay, and then like Awakening, that would have been cool. But after Blood Wars and stuff, now she's on this top tier elder. Who's going against this elder? You know what I'm saying? And her daughter, her daughter is a hybrid, but she has this vision where she can tell where her mom is at 24/7 anytime she wants to. So if you have two of those sitting in a coven, who's going to attack that? Who's going to be strong enough to attack a coven like that, led by that type of vampire and a hybrid like that? You're not going to. And then one of the partners, one of the other elders, she's Amelia. That's her name. That was the other vampire elder, Amelia. Amelia had a daughter with a different vampire. Had a son with a different vampire, and he's an elder. So once again, that's another vampire elder that most likely, I can now imagine that Celine gave her entire coven, a new coven, her blood to where they can walk in sunlight. There's no other vampires, no other werewolves or Lycans that can deal with a coven like that. There's no point of Underworld 6, in my personal opinion. Love the series, love everything about it, but I'm good. If they come out with it, I'll have to see the trailer, have to read the storyline, have to hear the reports before I actually go out and watch it, because I'm not going to be rushing for it anyway. But that's just my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all thinking about Underworld number 6 potentially. I'll catch y'all on another one.